Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack. We also have
Calvin Ellis ready to rock.
we are going to watch this teaser of the South Park joining the Panderverse, which has set everything abuzz in at least the blogosphere. I'll use another sphere or verse. Please shoot me. Ready, set, let's let it roll. Hold on, let's start this over. Just back down. Sorry. Stop sharing. That's the problem. And we're off.
It's a brand new exclusive event with all your favorite South Park characters. There's Cartman.
I had explosive diarrhea all night.
Stan.
Dude, school is going to be so awesome today.
Butters.
Oh, hamburgers.
And oh my God, they killed Kenny.
I like big boobs.
How does this even make any sense?
It makes perfect sense. I think the problem is you. South Park, new exclusive event streaming October 27th exclusively on Paramount Plus.
All right, we get away from Dr. Death. And everyone's going crazy for this. And everyone's taking this trailer and using it, pointing it at whatever project in Hollywood people decided they don't like. They're pointing it at mostly at Disney. They also pointed it at the Marvels. Now, with the Marvels having three characters that were actually established characters in the comic book, I'm not sure if they changed them. They changed them from white dudes to women, but this is something that we've seen in Hollywood for a long time, of taking something and not having roles and allowing females to do these roles, which is a common thing that a lot of people do to kind of stay in the spotlight because they don't really write for other people. But at the same time, they're saying once this thing comes out, the Marvels is tanking. What do you have to say about this in general, and your thoughts on basically the overrun of the multiverse stuff and them kind of poking fun at Disney, which they've done before? What are your thoughts?
South Park usually has, what can I say? South Park usually has a laser focus for the guys they take aim at. Their satire is usually pretty good. And that being said, I'm not really a big fan of South Park. Some of the stuff I just found didn't agree with me. However, their satire is usually pretty spot on, and they usually pick the targets they pick, they hit. It looks like they got Disney fair and square in the sights. So we'll see how it goes. But I expect that it's probably going to be well received with the. It's likely going to be very very received with the material that we have right now. I just don't know if it's going to be received for the right reasons. Where people are like, hey, we're old enough and mature enough that you can make material and it doesn't have to be this type of pandering nonsense, even if you're trying to be inclusive or you're trying to get a certain score at the end of the day. I just think more that'll become reasons we can, a lot of guys will just take it, oh, we can torch this thing, relentlessly now because South Park did it.
Well, that's my issue when I was listening to something last night and I was like, I need to watch this thing if it's really going to be like because people don't want it to tear down the stuff they like. They don't want to tear down Loki, which has female Loki in it and the multiverse thing. So that would fall into the realm of pandering, right? But at the same time, they're not saying that. They're saying the Marvels and saying, well, it's all babe. So it would be normally guys, but we haven't gotten rid of the guy movie. So it's kind of people are being selective to be like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to use this for. We're going to use this to say this comes out before the Marvels are going to tank because now it's projected to do the Marvels are going to do lower than say than the Captain Marvel did, which was $1 billion. They're saying that at least the opening weekend is going to be half of what it was, right? So, but I forget the site. I forget what they were doing, but They're really on a strong slant that this was not going to do anything. It was going to be really bad, and Disney and whatnot would be in bad shape. But ultimately, I don't really connect. Sorry, you were going to say something? You were saying?
Why in the world would they think this movie does better than Captain Marvel? Captain Marvel benefited greatly from the fact that it was sandwiched between Infinity War and Endgame. There's just nothing like that right now. Those movies were at the apex of the Marvel movies. So anything around that time that was tied into that last wave, those final films of the Phase 3, those things were just part of this phenomenal experience at that time. The whole idea is like, oh, it's not going to make as much as it did the first time. I'm like, yeah, because it doesn't have everything going for it. That movie did. That movie should have never made $1 billion.
Well, the thing that I struggle with the period, because yes, you did have that, and you did have, I guess the second Spider-Man did got close to $1 billion, but the hard part is that if you do have, I mean, it's in similarity to what you were saying about the comic sales, whether or not you know that this is, you're in a grace period. You had Black Panther that was out before and was it before Infinity War, that did got to $1 billion. You had Spider-Man, which came out before both of those that didn't. Then you had Infinity War, which got to the $1 billion or more than that. And then you had Captain Marvel. I say, which is what they were not leading with their best foot forward. They were leading with, we are Disney. This is our brand. So we put out stuff. You pick what we take. So you take our Kamala Khan, you take our Pulsar or whatever they're calling Monica Rambeau, and we'll show you a little bit of the person we are iffy on right now to kind of get her to kind of leave. And then they're like, wait a second, we got to sell this thing. We need some money. So they switched the trailer. And then now they're in a place where, Brie Larson can go. She's got a TV show going. She's got an ad campaign going, unrelated to Disney. So like her, feelings and getting ready to go doesn't bode well for this, but it bodes well for the fans just tossing stuff at her voodoo doll or something like that. But it's just kind of tough to say. They just went with their worst foot forward, and now people are waiting for this to fail. When I'm not sure it's going to do as bad as, say, any of the DC movies, because that's usually the benchmark of terrible, terrible box office. So hey, this thing gets to your 300 at the end, at the 300 at the end of the day, 400. What can you say in the market that's going on here? Not everything can be, Spider-Man, where they added all 3 Spider-Mans in there. You can't look at it like that. So, but I think people are using South Park to be like, this is what's going to tear this down. And then they're like, oh, this one tear Disney down. And it's like, well, wait a second. If their skits on Disney and China and all this other stuff was kind of on the mark, then you have another thing to deal with Disney, not just going into pandering, which Hollywood does. And the other thing is that when we go through Hollywood, it doesn't, hard part is it really doesn't matter, because there's a lot of scripts that nobody wants to do, that they don't want to do, that are for white guys that sit on the shelf, and then they say, we got this jumping Jack Flash script, and we got the production behind it, but nobody with any name wants to do it. So, hey, here you go, Whoopi Goldberg. You want to do this? Yes, and that's how any of these movies get made. There's a ton of movies that, I think, what was it? What's that movie? Misery. Misery is a good one, because that's not a pandering movie, but no male in Hollywood wanted to do it. They were like, nope, I'm not sitting in no bed, getting pummeled and beat up by no women. They were like, nope. Warren Beatty, anybody with a name said no, no, no. And the person who did it was James Caan, who at his career was known for, partying and I guess a lot of drug use. And he said, I'll do it. I'll take a drug test every day. you can see his career kind of ticked up again after he did this. So there's a lot of properties that are around there that people don't want to do, but so it's not. And
I
it's
heard about that.
yeah.
I said I heard about that, but the rumor was he got paid in cocaine.
No, he's trying to clean up his act.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. This means South Park, right? South Park.
Well,
I'm
thank you
sorry.
for that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Khan. I'm sorry. I was weak. I'm sorry.
He's not here with us now, but at the same time he'll come back and pummel you like he did his sister's husband. Actually, who knows? He might be 5'4", so it may, he might be a pit for who knows how big he is. But anyway, the thing of it is, the hard part is that I think a lot of these bloggers have gone in and said, South Park's our hero. Oh, you were tearing down Trump. They turned down Trump, but now you get mad that they're tearing down Disney and the Marvels. They might be tearing down Disney. The Marvels is at least there's some lineage of what's going on here, right? They had a connection in the TV show, but it's just like this is our our chew toy for the fans. So we're gonna just tear this apart without even sightseeing. We're gonna be mad that Brie Larson is ready to go. They're saying, hey, the fans don't want me, I'm okay to go. Hey, you can't do that. You can't steal our our trashing of you. You need to stay in there. Stay in there and wait for 20 years for your next film type of deal. But I think, going back to South Park, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. They're gonna hit you over the head. Some of it's gonna be great. It could all just be hilarious, but I think the blogs going around and kind of, got their torches with South Park and saying, what don't we like? Not Loki, not Sylvie and Loki. We're not saying that's pandering, but we'll say all this other stuff is pandering. So, any other thoughts before we close this one out?
The one South Park episode that I liked, as hard as it was for me to watch. Do you remember? Did you see the one with Indiana Jones?
No, I didn't see that. No.
Oh my goodness! It was one with this Indiana Jones, and he's being raped by Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. And each sequence is based on some rape scene from like a movie or something of that nature. And I'm watching this stuff and I'm dying laughing, but it hurts so much inside because I understand what these guys are saying. Like Crystal Skull was so bad. Where they just like, it's just like, yeah, they raped him. They raped the character. They raped Indiana Jones. And if they can pull that type of stuff off, because that was where I was watching it and I was just like, oh man, I'm cracking up, but I'm still, it fit so much how I felt. That is Indiana Jones and the Cave of the Crystal Skull, the Secret of the Crystal Skull, whatever it was one of the few films in my life I have ever walked out of.
The Cave of the Crystal Skull.
That is one of the few films that I have. It's one of the few films I ever walked out of. Okay, that means Hudson Hawk. I sat through the whole thing, but I walked out of Indiana Jones. I walked out of Indiana Jones, and when I saw the thing with South Park, I was like, yes, these guys nailed it. And it was this mixture of, man, this is not cool to look at, but it's funny, and it had every single emotion that film gave me. If they can manage to pull that off with this, like they did with that, where I was just like, hey, you guys nailed it. It's an uncomfortable. It was true. It was uncomfortable. It was funny, and it was spot on with everything that I felt was wrong with that film. If they can do that here, then yeah, cool. If they're just taking cheap shots, then that's the bigger thing. That's the bigger thing that I would want not to see. There isn't just a lot of hate out there right now. Just is. And you can tune in to your favorite hate channel at the end of the day. And then, I don't know, it's kind of like the guy who wants to say racist stuff. And then he comes to you and is like, how do you feel about this? Oh, it doesn't bother me. See? Now I'm like, no, no. It's still wrong. It doesn't matter if it bothers me or not at the end of the day. But you can't just say that to everybody. And these guys will take it like that. Oh, South Park trashed it. So now we're going to go over and trash it too. See, legitimize it. That's not what I would hope to see. I would really hope that these guys can nail it for all the right reasons why it meets that level of satire, because it does show that mixture of stupidity and vice that human beings are prone to do, especially when we're doing this for these high level reasons, and you're not doing it, and your execution sucks too.
Well, it's one of the things like there's only a few that I saw and remembered, and obviously, what was it, the like the J Lo hand, like at the same time, as classic as that was, it's taken on a new kind of life because it was taken. Because I don't think Ben Affleck was that far into the limelight, but it kind of took what happens in his regular life now. It's like someone knew and how like the J Lo hand was somehow made a big deal. He went and chasing after the J Lo hand type of deal, and it's just like it seemed like that worked for his what's happening now. Oh, well, Anna de Armas is it? I'm moving in with Anna de Armas type of deal. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think wanting, when your favorite thing gets satired, that's what people saying. Oh, don't get mad. Like, what else can you do? It's what's going to happen. We're like, hey, you're going to have the hey moment when you hear something like that, and they usually been on the side of whatever is terrible, tearing it down. But some points you're going to have to get something higher. But I think a lot of times people are now going and saying, well, this is something we can use for some of our other stuff. When a lot of times, Hollywood doesn't even really care about swapping and switching. It's only if you, the fan, cares. And a lot of times, people will be more happy to see someone they like in a movie and be like, oh wow, and then until they wake up and say, oh, Tom Cruise, he can't play Jack Reacher. The new guy is the better guy. I say, well, Tom Cruise doesn't look anything like the American-made guy. He don't look nothing like the guy that was described in the Minority Report. And he almost the runner Prefontaine, he had to turn it down, saying, "Come on, Robert Town, I'm too old. I can't be being a young person." And John like, no, we can get the movie made. And he knew you could get the movie made. So it's a thing where, Hollywood knowing that, then they know they can switch anything and do whatever they want. So fans who kind of jump around and be like, hey, we don't want this, we don't want that. It's like, you're not always on the ball, guys. So, it's like, but, it's.
You can't, a friend of mine, he had a really nice take on it. And he's like, look, the fans will not submit until you show leadership. So if they don't trust the writing and they don't think they have no trust in the direction that you're doing with these characters and so on and so forth, then they wild out, they do all this stuff. It's just worse now because you have the internet and so on and so forth. But it reminds me of when they cast Tom Cruise to be Lestat in the Interview with the Vampire. Mm-hmm. Okay, and Anne Rice came out and said no. They're like, no. They're like, what are you doing? We got something here. We got this is gonna work out. Come on. What are you doing? And so then they're like, all right, cool. Then she comes out, she sees it, and she does the mea culpa and so on and so forth. But that film did very well on the strength of the acting by Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. So when and rightfully so, when viewers, fans, and I do tend to separate the two. When these people do not, they're like, oh, look, what are these guys going to turn out? Okay, we don't have, there's going to be some trash or what have you. Then they start going all over the place, but you also can't make the money that you would like to because you don't know where the floor is anymore because you're not turning out people. However, and sometimes it can take a few films. It can take, 2 or 3 films, 4 films before people are like, no, this is solid stuff at the end of the day. And they stop listening to the haters. They stop listening because they now have, okay, no, we trust that this is going to be some good stuff because of what you've done over here, because of the evidence that you provided. That's the position I think a lot of those, like Disney is in right now because they, and I said it before, they squandered a lot of momentum and goodwill, to do this stuff. And some of the stuff was near contemptuous for the audience that they had. Mm-hmm. And so that's, that's a bigger, for me, that's a bigger part of it. The thing you say with Jumpin' Jack Flash, yeah, there's a whole bunch of guys. I can understand. They go, like, we made this film, nobody wants to do it. Damn right, they don't want to do it. Did you see Jumpin' Jack Flash? I'm like, no, why am I doing this movie? That's a movie for somebody who's just getting their feet wet. They're like, well, no, we're trying to put somebody established in here. Hey, what about Whoopi Goldberg? Yeah, that's a great film for her, but not some other. Like who's the other guys who they may have had in mind for? They're like, no, I'm not doing that because it doesn't do anything for me. Hollywood's great for that too. We're like, hey, we got this. we got this project for you. He's like, that's good. That's a project for me when I was like still making risky business or something. I'm not doing this now.
Well,
It's not happening.
it doesn't have to all be bad because that's how what's the Beverly Hill Cop happened. Because it's like who's the name? Stallone wanted it to be a little more serious. They wanted to throw some more comedy into it, and he ultimately goes and thinks, okay, this Cobra project, this is kind of what the audience wants, and they're like, well, we got funding behind it, and we'd love to work with with Eddie Murphy, and then you get the thing where that thing works. And I think Denzel also, decided, he said, whatever other people turned down, let's take a meeting with the scripts of these certain guys. Let's see what they're looking at, and that seemed to work for him to get him to the 20 million mark. So it can work in the certain way Hollywood works, because Hollywood also knows that. I think it's in William Goldman. He talks about the spitballing process where they throw anything out to fix kind of issues. And Hollywood knows that's happening. It's not supposed to stay forever. So, at some point you're saying, what if this was that? What if that was this? What was this person was this? What if we used this? What if we did that? Just to get through some plot issues. And they're like, no, that should be how we cast, how we do story, how we do everything. What if we got what we wanted type of deal. But there's a bunch of projects and that that people that are ready to go, that are like, it could be bad ones, it could be ones that people pick up and it just shoots to the sky and the person is able to make their deal. But Hollywood knows this, so that's why when you see even not even going to someone like going to Batman in '89. You had someone that didn't look like Batman, but you have a director who kind of, even though it's not really, I had a ton of issues with it. For the audience, it was a big, huge movie. And at the same time, they also added in a black Harvey Dent, which they were already saying, he's going to be, what this means? And they were selling it. He's going to be, Billy D's going to be, Two-Face. It's coming type of deal.
Yeah, right.
But it's there. It's there. And then when you lose the director, then they're like, oh, we're going to go a different way type of deal. So, but that's set up in there where they've done it. People haven't flipped out when Billy D was Harvey Dent in there. But he only had really a small part. So, that's the thing.
Or as they said back at the time, Billy D. Williams was just profiling. Even though I think they actually did something with the comic series they have out now. They did like a Batman 89 comic series, and in that, his as acted out as rendered by Billy D. Williams, Two-Face, Harvey Dent became Two-Face. So if you're holding out, you can go check that out. But I was one of the guys like, oh yeah, he might actually be Two-Face, and they were like, oh, he's just profiling. I was like, oh, okay, well.
It's hard to say because obviously, as of right now, outside of what we've hearing the voice, and I think the cartoon did the outside of comics, of course, did the best Two-Face until William Shatner came along and did the Cape Crusader thing where they did the unfinished script of Two-Face, and I was just like, good Lord, it would have been amazing if they had Shatner as Harvey Dent. It would have been something, especially around that period. It would have been something glorious. But anyway, ultimately, South Park is doing their thing. There's a lot of multiverse. Maybe we'll get this. For me, that's the thing. For me, I would almost say, can we get rid of some of this multiverse stuff where, the Loki thing, they don't even want to cut branches anymore. These are lives. This is a lot for Kevin Feige to decide. We're gonna do 4 or 5 million Thors now. We're gonna do a whole bunch of cat. Like I trim that. Even Mark Grunwald, who was Mr. Omniverse, more so a DC guy than Marvel, like he was okay with the idea of the Days of Future Past, future being chopped off. The X-Men supposed to won. And they chopped it off, and then once they said, hey, we need some stories, and that's how the Days of Future Past came back. People will say, oh no, they did a Sentinel story, and that meant it was going to keep going. No. The X-Men took out the Sentinels in 51 and 52 like that. So There was no chance that they were going to come back and do what they did. So ultimately, South Park's doing a thing, and people are going to use this to take down DC, Marvel, whoever they want to do. Anything that's considered pandering or whatever think is a multiverse type thing, and whatever, and they have their voice and their style. And we'll see how it goes. It seems like it's going to be big, but if you decided to watch South Park and then decide that you weren't going to go see Marvels, it's like that makes literally no sense to me. If you already decided not to, then that's fine. But you're like, oh yeah, three female that has some loose connection to each other in the same movie, like saying, yeah, this is Pan. Like, okay, no, Panda would be all of those chicks from Endgame in one movie. This is giving you something where at least the two are connected. You have the Captain Marvel, you have Monica Rambeau, and then because they're trying to sell you on Ms. Marvel, that's who they're trying to put in. That's the Marvel thing of saying, we want to sell you Ms. Marvel. We put her at the lead in the first teaser. And it's like, wait a second, we can't sell this on this person that did the lowest in all of our TV shows. We're gonna sell this on something
We can try.
It's like, what kind of sense? That's what I'm saying. I'm arguing with people that love friends of mine that loved. They loved the TV series, and I'm just like, but you don't, because you like her, you don't sell something with the thing that didn't work. You sell something, the thing that made $1 billion. Say, oh well, everyone online, well, it only made $1 billion. Yeah, it did, whatever it is, but you still lead with that. You lead with whatever got you to the $1 billion. You lead with that character. She was in Endgame. She was in Captain Marvel. Hey, you don't throw that out just for some newbie. And that's one of the harder things. Like saying, hey, we got this new shiny thing that we think is way better, and it's like, no, that's you bait and switch. You do this, have Captain Marvel have a heroic death, and then you decide that Kamala Khan is the greatest, strongest, most powerful person in the universe, and somehow they feel it when you can see it coming from a mile away. Did I say that already? No, but we'll see what happens on the Marvels. We'll see South Park. Any other last words?
No, we can keep going on with this one. We're out.
Cinerac
Out.
out.